Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Shri Guru Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Bando mui sabadana mate. Bando mui sabadana mate. Jahara prasade bai e bhavatori ajay. Jahara prasade bai e bhavatori ajay. Krishna prapti ho jaha hote. Krishna prapti hai jaha hote. Guru mukha padma vakya chitete koriya kya. Guru mukha padma vakya chitete koriya kya. Arna kori ho mane asha. Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Utama Gati. Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Jai Prasad Pure Sarva Asha Jai Prasad Pure Sarva Asha Chakudan dilo je janme janme Prabhu se chakudan dilo Chakudan dilo je janme janme Prabhu se chakudan Divya Gyan Hriday Prakasito Divya Gyan Hriday Prakasito Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasha Jate Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasha Jate Vede Gai Jahara Charito Vede Gai Jahara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Lokana Lokera Jivana Lokana Lokera Jivana Ha Prabhu Koro Doya De Homare Pada Jaya Ha Prabhu Koro Doya De Homare Pada Jaya Ebe Jas Kushukte Bhuvana Ebe Jas Kushukte Bhuvana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Nama Om Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadeshatarine Jayati Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Yashamati Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Kaliya Damana Vidana Kaliya Damana Vidana Amala Hare Nama Maya Vilasa Amala Hare Nama Maya Vilasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bara Bamsi Badana Suvasa Brajajana Palana Surakulana Shana Brajajana Palana Surakulana Shana Nanda Godana Rakoala Nanda Godana Rakovala Govinda Madhava Vanavanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Basanahara Rasarasika Kripamoya Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Basanahara Rasarasika Kripamoya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara Bhakti Vinoda Shaya Bhakti Vinoda Shaya Yashomati Nandana Braja Baranagara Gokula Randana Kana Yashomati Nandana Braja Baranagara Gokula Randana Kana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Amala Harinama Miya Vilasa Amala Harinama Miya Vilasa Braja Jana Palana Surakula Nashana Braja Jana Palana Surakula Nashana Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Bhakti Vinoda Shaya Bhakti Vinoda Shaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Sridhar Thakur ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Prabhu Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribhajikacharya Sishman His Divine Grace Avai Charan Bhaktivedanta Sai Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Iskcon BPT Founder Church of Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananda Kora Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namchar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Shri Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Say Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mathura Dham Ki. Dwarka Dham Ki. Navadvip Dham Ki. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. Jamuna Mai Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Tulsi Maharani Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Sambheda Bhaktivinoda Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. C.C. Kishore Kishore Ki. Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jiga Ki. Gopremanandi. All glories at the assembled devotees. All glories at the assembled devotees. All glories at the assembled devotees. All glories at divine Larasita Sisi, Guru and Gauranga. I apologize for being late. It's a long story which I'll spare you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaivam Narottama Devim Sardatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaivam Narottama Devim Sardatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. The Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun. It is arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision to the dense darkness of the age of Kali should get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, we should first offer our respects to the personality of Godhead Narayan, to the Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, the goddess of learning Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. So we are on. Now I have my digital version. Does anyone need a copy of the Bhagavatam? All right, then I'm going to just slip it in here. Yato na kaschit kva cha kutrachid va dina swam atmanam alam samartha vimochitum kama drisham vihara krida mrigo yan nigado vishaga yato na kaschit kvacha kutrachidva dina swayam atmanam alam samartaha kridam ragoya nigado visharga. Wait. Sorry. We'll take him to the my mind actually is somewhere else right now, but we'll hope it makes it back here. Yato nakaschit kva chakutrachidva dinasvam atmanam alam samartaha vimochitum kama drisham vihara kriyadam ragoyan nigado visharga yato nakaschit kvacha kutrachidva dinasvam atmanam alam samartaha vimochitum kama drisham vihara Kriyada mrigo yan nigado vishargaha. Yato nakaschit rutrichidva. Dinas from atmana malam samartaha. Vimochitam ka dusham jihara. Kridam rigo yan nigado vishaga. Yato nakaschit kvarcha kuchadidva. Dinas from atmana malam samarta. Vimochitam kama drisham vihara. Kridam rigo yan nigado vishak. Vaishnavis. Yato nakaschit kvacha kutrachidva. Dinas from atmana malam samarta. Yato nakaschit kvacha kutrachidva. Dinas from atmana malam samarta. Vimochitum gama drisham vihara. Kridat mrigo yan nigado vish. Yata. Because. Na. Never. Kaschit. Anyone. Kva. In any place. Ka. Also. Kutrachit. At any time. Va. Or. Dina. Having a poor fund of knowledge. Swam. Own. Atmanam. Self. Alam. Exceedingly. Samartha. Able. Vimochitam. To liberate. Now let's see. Okay. We'll stop there. I think that covers it. So the translation, it's actually 2 verses, but we just did 1. But I assume you figured that out by now. Translation. And who's speaking? Of course, we know Sukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami, fine. But in this particular point, who is speaking? Prahlad Maharaj. And who's he speaking to? He's speaking to his little friends. My dear friends, O sons of the demons, it is certain that no one bereft of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been able to liberate himself from the material bondage at any time or in any country. Rather, those bereft of knowledge of the Lord are bound by the material laws. They are factually addicted to sense gratification, and their target is woman. Indeed, they are actually playthings in the hands of attractive women. Victimized by such a conception of life, they're surrounded by children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and thus they are shackled to material bondage. Those who are very much addicted to this conception of life are called demons. They don't have horns. They don't have, sharp, forked tongues. They're not green or yellow. Those who are very much addicted to this conception of life are called demons. Therefore, although you are sons of demons, keep aloof from such persons and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana, the origin of all demigods, because the ultimate goal for the devotees of Narayana is liberation from the bondage of material existence. Purport. Now, when does class go till? What is your standard? What are the house rules? 8:30, okay. PM or AM? No. No. I'll try. I will try to be succinct. Thank you for your kindness, though. Yes, you're very kind. Prahlad Maharaj has maintained the philosophical point of view that one should give up the dark well of family life and go to the forest to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hidvam patam griham ananda kupam vanam gato yadarim ashriyate. In this verse also, he stresses the same point. In the history of human society, no one, at any time or any place, has been liberated because of too much affection and attachment to family. Even in those who are apparently very educated, the same family attachment is there. They cannot give up the association of their families, even in old age or invalidity, for they are attached to sense enjoyment. As we have several times discussed, Yan mai tu nadigri amedi sukam hitucham. So-called householders are simply attracted to sexual enjoyment. Thus, they keep themselves shackled in family life, and furthermore, they want their children to be shackled in the same way. Playing the part of playboys in the hands of women, they glide down to the darkest regions of material existence. Ananda gopir vishitam tamishram puna punascharvitam charvananam. Because they are unable to control their senses, they continue a life of chewing the chewed and therefore descend to the darkest material regions. One should give up the association of such demons and adhere to the association of devotees. Thus one will be able to be liberated from material bondage. Om Ganata Marandasya Gana Ganasalakaya Jokshu Shimilitan Gina Tasnari Shi Gurave Namaha. Actually, everybody wants the same thing. We want, the materialists want, everybody's actually looking for the same thing. Here it describes becoming free from material bondage. As Prabhupada says, the living entity wants to feel the unfettered freedom of the soul. Everyone wants to feel that unfettered freedom of the soul. They want to do it by hang gliding. They want to do it, we'll live with it. They want to live, by whatever it is. By getting intoxicated, by becoming, they all have their goals. But the common denominator is they want to become unfettered from the material bondage. The problem is no one is doing it. We find that there's in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, there's a story about an analogy, and it has two different endings. Prabhupada tells it two different ways. Let it be a cautionary tale. That there is a pingala bird. There's a male bird and a lady bird. And they fall in love, Cupid's arrows. Anyone ever noticed how an arrow is shaped? There's a big tip. Anyone know how an arrow is shaped? We all know in your mind an arrowhead, right? Do you know why it's shaped like that? Yes? Way to go, my friend. My work is done here. It goes in easily, but and attachment is like that. It is insidious. It creeps up on us, and we don't even realize how much attached we are. So the point is that they became deeply attached. Romeo and Juliet, the birds. And then they had their little baby birds, and they were enjoying their sweet chirping. Just like every parent likes the awkward, probably the broken language of the child, even they're not speaking, they become, they're so attracted. I remember when I was a householder, I raised 2 kids by Krishna's grace, and little kids will actually run to the door and be dancing to see us. I mean, when was the last time, I won't ask any of the householders here, but your wife came dancing the door to see you? Maybe if you had Mahaprasadam, they're happy to see you, but or you're going to pay the bills, came home with a check, But it's very intoxicating. So the little, they've got their little birds in their nest. There's a crow. It's a long story.
which I'll tell some other time. But outside of my office, the apartment there, there's a big tree, and right next to me is Trader Joe's. You have Trader Joe's here? Yeah, the Kalpa Briksha of the material world. So there's a crow, and he's got a nest there, and it's at the top of a tree, and you can tell he scoped it out. It's the right height. He can see right into Trader Joe's parking lot. Anybody drops in, and it's premium real estate. It's got a view. He can see the ocean. It's a pretty cool pad. So how is he different than the guy on Fifth Avenue who's got a view of Central Park? The psychology is the same. Maybe a little more, but the psychology is the same. So anyway, the little birds, they have their little baby birds, and they go out and they're working hard, just like you see them every day. They're out. Prabhupada tells a story. Prabhupada tells it's an analogy, that the mouse makes the hole very comfortably. And he's living very comfortably in the hole. What happens? Snake comes, eats the mouse, and lives in the hole. So Prabhupada says they work very hard, and they make these nice parks. But they're working so hard that they don't have time to enjoy the park. Who's in the park? The devotees chanting japa, having Ratha Yatra, so we're actually taking their hard labor, but they don't actually get there. The devotees are the ones who are actually enjoying it, So anyway, we see them, they work very hard. It's off the track, but I don't think you'll mind. We used to chant in Detroit when I was a young man. I was once a young man, believe it or not. Let that be a cautionary tale to the rest of you. And we would chant downtown Detroit, in front of there's a main street there. And we would catch the 6:30 bus, which would get back just in time for take a shower and make it to the evening arti. And devotees, we worked hard, And as you do, devotees work hard for Krishna. One of the symptoms of advancement in devotional service is one does not like to waste time. So devotees work hard. And one of the stops on the way back was the River Rouge, it was the Uniroyal Tire Factory. Prabhupada says factory is another name for hell. And you could see, these guys had come covered with black soot, big guys, And it was the funniest thing because you'd see that a lot of them were Polish. They were on the way back to Hamtramck, where that was their, district where they lived. So these big burly guys in the bus, and they were exhausted and they'd fall asleep. And you'd have this skinny little Krishna Bhakta who's chanting all day, distributing books. He'd fall asleep. And you'd see the two of them snuggle up on each other's shoulders, the big bull. And the devotees would fall asleep on the bus, and the bus driver, if he'd finish his route, we'd be sound asleep, he'd be stuck with us. So he learned after a while, he'd stop automatically. We'd hear, hey, Krishna's, Jefferson and Seminole, that was the street. Wake up! And the devotees would wake up and get off the bus, So they're working hard, we're working hard. But anyway, back to our analogy of the birds. So, they have their sweet little, Romeo and Juliet and the birds, they're deeply in love, and they have their little wonderful babies that are chirping sweetly to them, and they go out hard working in the forest all day long, this is from the 11th canto, looking for how to feed their baby birds, and they come back very dutifully. But what's happened is the hunter has thrown his net. It's like a mesh, and you throw it on the ground, he covers it with leaves, and he puts some seeds on it. And the birds come, bird brain, not so bright, the birds come down to get the seeds, and their feet become entangled in the net, in the mesh, and then they can't fly away, so this way he captures them. So they come back and they see the objects of all their hard labor, of their love, their little baby birds, because they flew down to get the seeds, they're all caught in the net. And the mother is so overwhelmed when she sees the babies, she jumps in to save the babies, and she's also entangled. And there's a soliloquy by the male bird that what is the use of life? Everything is lost. He becomes so overwhelmed. Prabhupada tells a story two different ways. One story, he becomes so overwhelmed that he also sails in to try to save the wife and babies. And what happens? He also becomes caught and dies. Does anyone know the other way Prabhupada tells the story? Yes. All right. We don't want speculation. Yes, Prabhu. Prabhupada said he takes sannyas. He gives it up. So, but the point is that, you know, what is this saying? They say, cheat me once, shame on you. Cheat me twice, shame on me. Should we keep falling for the same stupid thing? I mean, after a while you think, you know, wake up, bonzo. You know, it's not working. So again and again and again, the same thing is happening. Prabhupada was walking in Shevat Hills. You can hear the tape. Shevat Hills is a park. It's in LA. It's up on the hills. And Prabhupada would get out of his car and he would usually walk clockwise around the park. This particular time, he got out and he walked counterclockwise. And you can hear, what is his name? I think Prajapati was his name. But he had the thespian voice. You know, he was a former Shakespearean actor. And you can hear him when they're going, usually Prabhupada will go clockwise, now they're going counterclockwise. You hear him say, I say, Srila Prabhupada, when we walk in the park in a different direction and see the same objects from a different angle, it appears to be a completely different park. And Prabhupada just starts to laugh. You know, Sundays Prabhupada, almost like a belly laugh. Prabhupada's really laughing, you know. And Prabhupada said, that is material life. It is the same thing. It is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But we see it from a little different angle. We do it instead of, you know, my crow in Trader Joe's, we do it on Park Avenue, or we're seeing it in this body or that body. But it's the same thing. Fish. There's certain types of fish that actually have a sense of territory. They will parole the parameter of that little section of water and fight to the death if another fish enters. It's just water. You know, but in their mind, they have their territory. You know, gangs are fighting over this. They'll kill each other. So whether it's a fish or whether it's a nation or whatever it is, it's the same thing again and again and again. And there comes a point when the living entity says, wait a minute. What is it Sanatana Goswami says, Kayami, who am I? What am I working so hard for? What is the purpose of the whole thing? So the Prabhupada says, you can hear the tape. This one man is going on and on, because Prabhupada's talking here in the purport, you know, they get their sons to do it, you get your grandsons to do it. Everyone's following the same, like lemmings off a cliff. Where do lemmings live, by the way? Where are lemmings native to? Anyone know? You know, the lemmings are some kind of rodent that one falls the other off a cliff. Anyway. Prabhupada talks about this. You can hear the tape. This man is talking to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada's trying to, you know, get him to understand higher truth, and the man keeps talking about my father. And we're all indebted, you know, I'm indebted to my father. He was a good father. I can never repay him. The teacher who teaches you even one letter, you can never repay, Chanakya Pandit says. So I have a good father materially, and I'm indebted to him. No doubt about it. But, you know, I understand the higher goal. So anyway, this man's going on about his father. And because of my father, we have this business. Because of my father, we have us. And Prabhupada's trying to, you know, very good that you respect your father, but who is the father of all living entities? You know, Prabhupada. And the man just cannot get it. He's always talking about his father, his father, his father. And Prabhupada says, and where is your father now? The man stops. And Prabhupada says, he may be a cockroach in the commode. Can you imagine how heavy that is? You know, especially, you know, Indian tradition where they, you know, and rightly so, where they're respecting their father. So Prabhupada said later on, Prabhupada said, I can say these things, you cannot. Because people could sense that Prabhupada was actually selfless. There was no pride or ego there. But, you know, Prabhupada said some very heavy things. This one man said to Prabhupada, but what would happen if everyone became Krishna conscious? I mean, they have their narrow, everyone's going to be a monk, and, you know, 90% of our devotee population is working in the world. But anyway, they're thinking, you know, Arjuna never went off to the Himalayas and lived in a cave. But anyway, they're thinking like that. So the man says, what would happen if the whole world became Krishna conscious? Prabhupada said, don't worry, there'll always be fools like you who won't. It's pretty heavy. And true. But the point is that where does it all go? Where does it all end? Should we continue doing the same thing again and again that the dogs and the hogs are doing? What will change? And as it says here, no one has succeeded at any time, in any place. We have a choice. What is it, Goebbels, the Nazi propagandist? His basic theme was that if you tell a lie loud enough and long enough, people will believe it. Tell a lie loud enough and long enough, people will believe it. And Prabhupada tells a Bengali story that a man, there's 4 brothers, I forget the number. And the father dies, but he gives the inheritance to one son and not the others. So the others are envious because they're fools. And the father wisely gave it to the intelligent son. But the other ones are foolish. So they hatch a plan. And what they do is they're trying to convince the man he's a ghost. So the man's going to take his bath, as you know, in the morning. And one of the brothers is there, hanging out on the road. And when the brother who inherited the money sees, he says, "Oh, how are you?" The other brother says, "Ghost, ghost, he's a ghost," and runs away. So the innocent man thinks, "Well, what's wrong with him? My brother's, must something." Goes a little further. The other, it was their strategy. The other brother is there loitering. And when he sees the brother, he says, "Oh, ghost, ghost, you died yesterday, you've come back as a ghost." He runs off. The third brother does the same thing. By the time the man gets to the river, he's convinced he's a ghost, he drowns himself. By hearing, he becomes convinced. The average American under hypnosis can remember 357 commercial jingles. As Prabhupada said, brainwashing, when they accused him, he said, if the brain is dirty, shouldn't you wash it? So we have all kinds of impressions rattling around the brain. We've heard it, that the goal of life is sense gratification. We've heard it in sophisticated ways. When they sell cars, what do they drape over the car? Shaving cream. What do they have? As Prabhupada says, playthings. They have some half-dressed, beautiful woman. What has that got to do with the quality of the car? I mean, the car, what's the engine like? What's the suspension system? How, what has a half-naked woman got to do with the quality of the car? But the man is such a dummy. But the example is like a bull, Bulls are ever been to New Vrindavan when they've got those brown Swiss? A brown Swiss, they're tall. They are a big animal. What's the joke? Where does a 2-ton gorilla sit? And the answer is anywhere he wants. Because what are you going to do with the thing, So in the same fashion, when those bulls, when they want to go somewhere, you can't move it. But you see in Vrindavan, you see in Mayapur, the little boys, and they're controlling that big, big bull. That bull could toss him in a second. How do they control the bull? I know Nityananda Prabhu knows. Anyone else know? Yeah, Mataji. Because this septum in the bull, this part of the nose is very, very sensitive. You put a ring in there and you pull it, you can pull that because it hurts. You can pull that big bull anywhere you want. We're actually free. We're actually completely fearless. That is the default mode of the soul. Prabhupada said, if you're not happy in Krishna consciousness, you're doing something wrong. That's our default, inherent, intrinsic nature of the soul, is to be happy and fearless, to be a friend of every living entity. That's our natural state. But we're completely bewildered by all these things, and we're pulled like a bull over these things. We've had it talk about the original been there, done that. How many times? Whatever it is. The sannyasis chant a mantra, and the translation is, let the suffering of this world come. Huh? Are we masochistic? Do I have an intrinsic taste for pain? Why? First off, suffering's going to come anyway. My mother used to I had a very good mother also, by Krishna's grace. We used to go to the beach And when you go to the beach with a bunch of kids, you pack a picnic, isn't it? I mean, what's if you got to have a picnic? You got to have some kind of something, you know? So we're there, and my mother used to always complain about how sand got in the picnic, in the sandwiches or whatever, you know? And I remember thinking, we're at the beach. What's the beach made out of? What are the odds sand is going to get inside? You know, it's pretty much, you know, it comes with a package, you know? So we're in this material world. There's suffering. You can do anything you want to try to counter it. There's a professor, I should say, note the past tense. There was a professor whose field, I forget his name, he's one of the top experts in the field called life extension science. There is such a thing. There's a magazine on walking. I mean, you would think 1 foot after, it's not really complicated, but anyway, they study these things. So, yeah, the first article, 1 foot in front of the other, you know, the magazine on walking. But anyway, so this professor is life extension science. That's his field. And if you eat right, you know, blueberries because they have this, and you eat this, and you act, and he was, past tense, he was 65 years old. He had the heart rate of a 45-year-old man, and by all the medical symptoms, he was going to live to 115. No fool like an old fool. Just before I left San Diego, there was an article in the paper. He was out jogging for his morning jog. It's a beautiful, you know, it's called La Jolla Shores Drive. It's right by the ocean. He's out jogging. Right by the university, the women's varsity team for volleyball was out practicing. Beautiful young ladies. He was distracted for a moment, hit by a bus and killed. So much for life extension, you know? So, whatever it is, we're going to get it. It's inevitable. You can prolong the life, but like Bhagavatam says, redwood trees, you know, trees stand for thousands of years. Even a bellows breathe. Dogs and hogs discharge semen and maintain families. So what? So the point I want to make is that we're at a crossroads. We have a choice. That's what the purpose of this human form of life is. It is meant to, because Prabhupada will quote poetry sometimes. So Robert Frost, what is it? 2 roads diverged in the forest. I took the one less traveled, and that has made all the difference. We are putting everyone is moving on faith. They try to say, oh, well, you have, you know, you're sentimentalist. Show me the facts, man. But the fact of the matter is, talking about facts, the fact of the matter is I forget what it is. Sadhaputta was telling me, and a guy confirmed it, professor of education. It's something like 97.7% of the knowledge, what creates our worldview, we've never experienced. Anybody here seen the Eiffel Tower? Raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, we got a few. The rest of you, do you believe in the Eiffel Tower? Any Eiffel Tower conspirators here? Could be, hey, could be Photoshop. Could be. You believe in the film? Anybody seen an atom? Oh, there goes one. Who here has anyone seen a neutron? Or neutrino, or whatever the thing's called? A quark? Anybody seen it? Raise your hands if you've seen a quark. You believe in it? We believe so many things. The law of gravity they cannot define. They can explain how it works. They can simulate it. But why it actually works, they do not know. They don't know what electricity is. When you follow down the rabbit hole, they'll ultimately come back to its electrically charged particle or wave. They're defining it in itself. It's a circular reasoning. There's so many things they do not actually know. But they have faith. So it's not a question of having faith. We have faith in the law of gravity. I was quickly disposed of the illusion that gravity didn't work. We saw somebody flying when I was a kid. My father called fool number 1, fool number 2. My older brother was fool number 1, I was fool number 2, who enthusiastically followed all the advice of my brother. We had the conception that we could fly one time. Hey, works for Superman, let it work for you. So we took a towel, long beach towel, tied it around my neck. My brother chose me to be, he had a little brain substance. And the theory was if you got a little height, got a little advantage, get a little height and get enough speed, it'll work. Works on the cartoons. I remember running off the roof. I was quickly dispelled of my illusion. I broke both arms. I was introduced to the law of gravity. But how it works, why it works, we don't know. So the point is, we are putting cover of People magazine. You see, it was interesting because I don't shop that much. So I forgot I was getting something. I forget. I was in, the grocery store, supermarket, whatever you call it here. Supermercado is a local. So on the cover of People magazine, there was this couple. And there were some movie stars, and they were happily married, and it would advertise their $400,000 wedding cake or something, and they were, lovey-dovey, Romeo and Juliet, right? I was shopping a few months later, and on the cover of People magazine was about their $4 million divorce package. I said, what happened? You should just put the covers next to each other. So, but people are looking at it thinking, oh, they're happy. And we're following so many, but it all ends the same way. So the simple point is that who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe the latest fool on the cover of People magazine? Are you going to, Stephen Hawkins? The Brief History of Time, who's now renounced his theory and has a new idea? Yeah, completely. I have a new idea. Didn't work like that. Actually, the universe is expanding and contracting simultaneously. So the point is that where you're going to put your faith. We're all putting our faith somewhere, but where are we going to put our faith? And what is the quality of the life? What are those people experiencing? We have a choice. We're at a crossroads. That's my point. Do we put our faith in the great saints and sages? And they all say the same thing. Pick a tradition. Name me a genuine spiritual tradition that does not hold the holy name hallow. Our Father art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That's the Mahavakyam of the Christian tradition. It's the Lord's Prayer. Starts off, hallowed be thy name. The Muslims, they're chanting, the Jews are chanting, Buddhists are chanting, everyone's chanting the name. They're chanting the name of Buddha. But everyone's chanting, and they chant on beads. So, and they all say the same thing, that there is a transcendent world. This is not your real home. We don't belong here. That's why it's called chewing the chewed. Anybody ever peel the gum off a table and chew it again? They always stick gum under the table. Hey, you don't know what you're missing. It's there for free. Just work on it a bit, No, you think, well, why? It's nasty stuff. We've done the same thing again and again and again and again. So the simple point is that we should it's a question of where to put our faith. Once you've decided to put your faith, let me become Krishna conscious. We were chanting New Year's Eve. They're all hoping. Why are they so enthusiastic about New Year's Eve? Because the last year sucked, and they're hoping this one's going to be better. We're going to put it all behind us, and hey, people are enlivened. It's Krishna's nature, Krishna's arrangement that every morning it's like a cosmic reset. Oh, it's a new day. We all know that feeling. Okay, hey, it's a fresh new day. Prabhupada's on a morning walk in London, outside Bhaktivedanta Manor. Obviously, Prabhupada just exudes, a gentlemanly nature. So the local villagers, they would say, good morning. Prabhupada would say, good morning back. And then after a while, Prabhupada would, because they were offering a benediction, Prabhupada would prime them, so they would wish the Vaishnavas good luck. So Prabhupada would say good morning, they would say good morning back. Prabhupada said, do you know what this good morning means? For the materialist, what does good morning mean? Prabhupada said it means nothing horrible has happened yet. Prabhupada said, only a Vaishnava, we say Mangal Arti. It's auspicious for a devotee, the whole life. They asked Prabhupada, what do you do for recreation? Prabhupada said, our whole movement is recreation. Think about it. The Practically speaking, the kingdom of God is here and now. It is not an aspirational goal. Kishore, you're standing right here. Prabhupada's again, Bhaktivedanta Manor. Prabhupada's Vyasasana is here, deities are here, temple room's packed. Some man stands up, says, "Can you see God?" Prabhupada's here, deities are here, man's in the middle. Prabhupada said, "Yes, but you're standing in the way, sit down." Krishna, he's standing right here. What will our activities be in the spiritual world? Chanting the holy name, practically performing service, spreading the glories. There's a wonderful picture, and I forget where it is, but it's the gopis are dancing in one way, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's a two-panel painting, and all the gopis are gesturing in one fashion in the Ras Leela, and you have Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan, and they're all making the same motions. It's the same thing. And practically speaking, it's as if we have the eyes to see. So the point is, what's our choice? If you think about it, we're jaundiced. If a jaundiced person tastes sugar, how do they experience it? They taste it as bitter. My grandfather used to take me fishing, and I felt horrible about it. So when he wasn't looking, I would toss the fish back. Because you put him in a bucket, he would put him in a bucket, and he's an old guy, so he'll lose track, But it didn't work, actually. He caught me and said, "You sissy, I'm never taking you fishing again." I said, "Thank you, God." So, but anyway, the point is that if you take a fish out of water, don't try this at home, but if you take a fish out of water and you leave it out of water for some time, I think it has something to do with the interface of because they breathe, they extract oxygen through their gills through the water. And I think the interface becomes disturbed and it has to moisten again so that there's a transfer, whatever it is, I forget what it's called, but anyway. If you take the fish out of water and it's out of water long enough, when you put it back in water, it actually appears to be struggling. They're flopping like this. And after a while, when that interface develops and they become rejuvenated, they take off, they can swim. We have jaundice. We've been out of the water so long. You could all be sound asleep in Bhagavatam class. I met a doctor, he said, "I'm an anesthesiologist." I said, "So am I." I said, "I put people to sleep in Bhagavatam class." So, but you could all be asleep. If I mention your name, you are awake, bing, you are back in a second, We're used to being the center of things. We're used to thinking that if my senses are titillated, if there's an interface, the stimulation of the senses and their sense objects, if they come in contact, that's happiness. It's a very coarse, it's not a really refined happiness, even in the material world. It's a long story. The short version, what motivates people? After they get their basic pay grade, their basic health, coverage, they got a little money to pay off their house, basic needs. People are not so much motivated by a bigger office or a key to the executive bathroom. That's not really what drives them. What drives them is a sense that their life has meaning and that they're part of a higher purpose, that they're actually doing something. I met a guy one time, I asked him, "What do you do?" He said, "I work for Ford Motor Company in the River Rouge stamping factory," another name for hell. So I asked the man, I said, "What do you do? How long have you worked there?" He said, "I've worked there 37 years. I said, "What do you do?" He said, "To tell you the truth, I don't really know." He said, "I put the metal in, I pull the lever, bam!" He said, "It comes out, it's all bent to hell." Can you imagine what, bam, whoosh, bam, whoosh, what does that do to your consciousness? So, most people's experience is very coarse, but even we can understand that there are refined levels of happiness. That our own, stuff it in your mouth, stuff it in your ears, stimulate one of the 9 gates of the body, okay. But a little higher is if you can, a mother loves her child, probably said it's almost a selfless love. You have people give up their life for their nation. People, you have Albert Schweitzer who gives us, for humankind. And each of those is more refined and is a higher level of happiness. Imagine the happiness of just pure service to Krishna. So the point I'm trying to make is this building has a purpose. We are here for a reason. And we're not really, the world is, I was going to tell the story about the guy for New Year's Eve. So we're chanting downtown San Diego. This man comes out of a so-called fancy restaurant. I mean, it's just piles of bones and feathers with some, nasty fermented wine poured over it. You could light it on fire and serve it to him. I mean, if we were served one of those $400 meals, we'd look at it and think, if I touch the plate, I better take a shower, But they're thinking, it's something tasty, So anyway, the man came out of the restaurant, and he's in a tuxedo. Look like a stuffed penguin, but for them it's something sophisticated, So he comes out like that. And he handed me a $100 bill. I said, thank you very much. I was leading the kirtan, so I said, thank you very much. I said, but can I ask why? He said, I'll tell you why. He said, I'm sitting in there with 3 other couples. He said, our meal, each of us, each couple, the meal alone is $500. So you multiply it by 3 other couples, so whatever that's 4 or 5 is $2,000, right? Anyway, he said, and we're going to the Grant Ballroom for the New Year's dance. He said, tickets to that are $1,000. He added the whole thing up. He said, and that whole restaurant is full of people doing the same thing. He said, right there in that room is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. He said, but you know what? You guys, pointing to the devotees, he said, are the only ones who are happy. And given my nature, I said, you know what, sir? I said, and we're doing it for free, And he laughed. He appreciated it, So I was a new bhakta. I'm still a bhakta, trying to become a bhakta. Prabhupada said bhakta is not a cheap thing. So, and I want to see if there's any questions. But anyway, I was a young bhakta in the Los Angeles temple. And I was bent out of shape by something. I only got 3 japatis instead of the 4 japatis I wanted, or the guy next to me snored last night, or, somebody didn't say just the right thing to my delicate ego, and I got all bent out of shape. For that, I'm going to give up eternal life. You have full knowledge and full happiness. Yeah, that's how dumb we are. Prabhupada says, the deer runs out of the oasis into the mirage, into the desert, looking for water, and dies. We're just like that. People do so many foolish things. On my way over here, there was a man with his pants on backwards, drunk, in the gutter. And he said, well, what the hell are you doing? I was saying, well, what are you doing? I'm going to take advice from this guy in the gutter with his pants on backwards, Oh, okay. I'm going to get down in the gutter with you. It looks good, So, but the point is that I was a new bhakta, and I was miffed by who knows what it was. And I'd gotten a postcard from my brother, come to Kauai, shape surfboards, because I used to do that before I became a devotee. So, hey, we got a place. And I was thinking, well, I could chant Hare Krishna over there. Maybe I'll go there, right? The mind thinks so many things. By Krishna's grace, Jayadvaita Swami was visiting. He was a brahmachari at the time. And I had the wherewithal, Krishna in the heart, to take advice from a senior, We take advice from our own mind. Why? I mean, that's how I got here in the first place. That's how I got this material body. We're at the bottom of the barrel, Kali Yuga. I mean, on one hand, you're all great souls who took birth to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but I know who I am. I'm at the bottom. Everybody with a brain already got out of this place. And I'm still stumbling around, like Diogenes, looking, well, maybe there's something I missed here, I'm a sannyasi, so I can say it. Vantasi, the dog eats something, makes it sick, throws it up, and then picks through it. Oh, maybe I missed something, We're like that. Frankly, it's made us sick. But I'm thinking, maybe this time, maybe I missed something. So anyway, on that happy note, so rather than take shelter of our mind and our own pride and our own ego, that's where we're going to get good advice. That's what caused the problem in the first place. So at least we should take advice from somebody else. Usually we get very internal when we got our own issues, we just rattles around in our own brain. Why not ask somebody else who's strong in Krishna consciousness? Why not? All pride, all ego, and frankly, we don't want to hear the answer because it's going to require a little heavy lifting, and we don't want to do that. We'd rather blame others, blame Krishna consciousness, blame Krishna than actually take it on our own shoulders and do the heavy lifting. But anyway, so I said to Jayadvaita Swami, I laid out all my petty, trivial issues. And surprise of surprise, he commiserated with me. He said, oh yeah, you're right. Oh, good point. Oh, I know what it's like when somebody snores all night. It's like a buffalo, I know how you feel. Oh, you're right. And he concluded, he said, yes, being a devotee can be tough. It can be tough. I thought, what is this? Trying to get rid of me? I mean, to get a report from the temple president. They're trying to, hoping I'll leave. What's the story here, And then he said to me, there's only one thing tougher than being a devotee. Anyone know what that is? Not being a devotee. This world is tough. This body is tough. It is not a nice place. Prabhupada said the demigods won't even come and pass urine on this planet. This body, a collapsible contraption, how many ways can you suffer? You've got 9 gates, but if you add it up, how many ways? I woke up the other day, I had a pain in my neck. I didn't even know I had a muscle there. Who here this morning woke up and thought, oh, my little toe, what a source of joy you are. Anybody? Ode to the toe, oh toe, But that toe, if it gets a little bit of an infection and you don't take care, it can kill you. I broke my toe one time. It's a long story, but I broke my toe. It's extremely painful. It hurt me for months. I don't get any... Put it on a pan balance, scale, pan balance. The potential for pain in this world. Get a dictionary, get a thesaurus, just for fun, and look up the synonyms for suffering. It just goes on and on and on. A person's experience is manifest by language. For example, Eskimos have something like 42 words for snow. Different types, because that's, a large part of their experience. So they've got all kinds of languages, So language is a reflection of a society's consciousness. You with me? What does it mean when if you look up the word suffering and there's pages of synonyms? Get an Oxford dictionary and look up synonyms for suffering. You can Google it. It goes on forever and ever and ever. Look up happiness. Page and a half. What does that tell you about human experience? I mean, Prabhupada says, it's not magical thinking. I'm asking us, just be honest. And then you look at the Vaishnava. A Vaishnava in any condition, they're simply... Naveen Krishna, his father was a doctor. Prabhupada stayed at his father's house, Dr. Karana. When Prabhupada was in his last days in Vrindavan, Naveen called his father and said, can you go see Srila Prabhupada? Please, go see Prabhupada. Maybe you can do something, maybe you can't, but at least go. And the man had deep affection for Prabhupada, so immediately he called, in those days, there's only 2 cars in India, a white ambassador and a black ambassador. So they got a little caravan of those ambassadors, which is a 1957 Fiat. It's a whole story. They just shipped the factory over and built it. Anyway, so they're all lined up, and they go down to Vrindavan. Different specialists, because the man thought, well, if there's anything we can do for such a saintly person. Prabhupada had not been eating. Dr. Karana told me that there was no fatty tissue. An ordinary person would have been writhing in pain. Just the skin was pushing the muscles right on the bone, the nerves right on the bone. Prabhupada's asking for a little massage. Dr. Karana walks in. Prabhupada says, Dr. Karana. You've seen those pictures, like Bijman on a Prabhupada's lying there on his disappearance bed. Fully lucid, fully coherent. Dr. Karana, how are you? How's your family? How are your sons? Oh, and some other friends have come. You must be tired. You've come from Vrindavan. Turns to Sarabi He says, please find them a room to stay. Get them some prasadam. And then Prabhupada says, after you've rested, come back and see me. Dr. Karana began to cry. He told me the story. He said, I'm a doctor. He said, I go into people's in that condition. They're calling for their mother. They're calling for morphine. They're saying, Doc, can you just give me 2 weeks? Just give me 2 weeks, you know? Prabhupada completely indifferent. The Bhagavatam gives the example. You have a coconut and you have the pulp inside. And when that pulp becomes ripe, you can shake it's completely independent. Someone who's in Krishna consciousness is completely independent. They're experiencing Krishna. They're completely satisfied in full Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada's sitting in an airport. A man asked Prabhupada, are you liberated? Prabhupada said, just like I have my ticket. When the plane comes, I'll get on it and go. Because I have my ticket, I have my certainty. When the plane comes, whenever it comes, it'll come and off I go. Similarly, if we're initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, we're engaged in the service of Krishna, we have the association of the Vaishnavas, we're chanting sincerely the holy name, in due course of time. The only time is separating us. And what else do we have? We don't own anything. We can't control anything. We have our free will and we have time. That's all we've got. And if we use that free will and time in the service of Krishna, before we know it, back home, back to Godhead. So, let's see. I had other things I wanted to say, but I'm thinking of I wanted to say this. They are counting on us. The world is we are the only game in town. I'm saying it in colloquial or whatever, lingua franca or whatever, the local term. But the Bhagavatam is saying nobody else at any time, in any place, has ever solved the problems of the material world. Nobody. Only the Narayana Parayana, the devotees surrendered to Krishna, they've solved the problems. So not only for us, this building, it used to be, it was a Masonic lodge, right? The temple in Montreal was a bowling alley. But does not that thing therapeutically treated become the cure of the self-same disease, Narada Muni says? This building is meant for something. At least let there be one place in the world that there's pure bhakti. Prabhupada said north, some man was saying, Prabhupada, I want to mix this, I want to do that. Prabhupada said north, east, south, west, pick a direction, but not here. This building is meant for something. The association of devotees are meant for something. How does Prabhupada describe violence in Bhagavad Gita? Knocking you over the head with a baseball bat? How is violence described in Bhagavad Gita? Yes, and Prabhupada, first he says, to distract someone from spiritual life. But you're also right. But that's violence. I'll be frank, as a GBC, some young lady was coming to the temple, not here, at another temple, and some brahmachari was hitting on her. What is that? Innocent jiva finally, after lifetimes, comes through the door and just is done. I live in an apartment complex, and I see them, it's mostly young kids, Pacific Beach. It has more bars per capita than any city in the United States. It's a zoo. But it's also nice for preaching, because there's a lot of young people. I watch them getting up going out on Friday night, and they're going out to market themselves in the marketplace of flesh. The innocent young girls, they got to paint themselves up. The guys are all bulking up, and they're all going out there, It's sad. There's a guy who comes to the temple, he drives a shuttle bus from San Diego to Las Vegas. They go out on Friday night, 6 o'clock, and they come back early Monday morning. He says, Friday night on the bus, they are happy. Everybody's dancing in the aisles, and they're, moving and grooving, and it's going to be great. He said, Monday morning, you can hear a pin drop on the bus. Everybody's downcast. One guy threw up in his shoe. The other guy lost his kid's, college fund. None of them are happy. And he said, and the next weekend they do it again and again and again. So they are suffering. There are people, I don't have time, but I can tell you so many, we've all experienced it. We've experienced it. That people who've had enough, I'm done. I'm done with it. I am not going to be sucker punched by the material nature again. I've had it. I want to go back to Godhead. I want to have what those people have. You know, the Vaishnavas. And when they come in the building, we have a duty to give that to them. There are people looking for it. Prabhupada said there'll always be a market for people looking for pure ghee. There'll always be a market for people looking for pure milk. There'll always be people looking for a market for pure gold. They will always be there. There will always be customers. There are people, sincere souls, looking for pure Krishna consciousness. We have to be it and we have to give it. The world is looking for it. We have the most important service in the world, and people are looking for it. So I think we can end there. Any questions? Because we're a little right on time. Anybody got a question? Yes, Prabhu. Oh, we got the mic. I forgot you guys are high tech.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Just to give you one last story, just because it's fun. And it just happened before I left. There was a devotee was having a party for the Vaishnavas. I think it was his wife's birthday or his birthday or whatever. And there was probably about 40 devotees. And it was in his backyard of his house. And nice, you know, Prabhupada said no function is complete without the distribution of prasadam. So a nice prasadam. One of the guests, new bhakta, turns out he has epilepsy. And he had a seizure. So, you know, the devotees are holding him down, trying to help him. And then, you know, we call 911 and paramedics. By the time the paramedics showed up, the guy had recovered. He was into his second plate of prasadam.